the well-being and sustainability of the natural world. And for Chapter 5, the lands and environmental stewardship of the community, Goal 1, to map and inventory our traditional territory, specifically to create a detailed map of the topography, as well as our traditional economic, social, and cultural uses of the land, including land use activities being carried out by external agents. Goal 2, to rationalize the nation's code and policy related to land use and environmental stewardship and create implementation processes and structures. Goal 3, to create mechanisms to ensure Atikameksheng's benefits equitably from all forestry, mining, and other land use activities being carried out on its traditional territory. Goal 4, to work with the provincial government and other regulatory bodies to ensure that their policies fully support Indigenous land rights and adopt environmental stewardship practices that align with the Indigenous knowledge and values. Goal 6, to fully resource a lands and environmental stewardship department program. And Goal 6, to create a lands and environmental related communication strategy that ensures the community members have access to information related to policy, codes, procedures, and status of ongoing processes. Administration. So for the staff, we have the Director of Lands and Economic Development, myself, Curtis Hassens, as well as the Lands and Economic Development Administrative Assistant, Tiana Wapagishi-Jordan. The main responsibilities of the administration include directing the administrative activities of the department, providing direction for strategic planning, programming, and budgeting, supervising the department employees and assisting band members, interacting with the managers and directors and other GIMA and council, federal government officials and other government departments and agencies, as well as the North Shore Tribal Council and band members, performing and or overseeing a variety of associated administration, staff support, and planning activities, and assisting in the coordination of meetings, program functions, and or special events as appropriate. Business Park Development. Staff is Acting Business Park Coordinator Tiana Wapagishi-Jordan. And the main responsibilities of the Business Park Development Division include coordinating the Business Park Development Project, assisting the Director of Lands and Economic Developments and the Director of Housing and Infrastructure in planning, developing, and implementing the Business Park project, as well as the Business Park Development Corporation, and meeting with prospective tenants and economic development partners in an effort to promote and market the park for projects and development. Coordinating the day-to-day performance with the project management services provider, reviewing project management and consultant invoices, and recommending processing payments. Applying for relevant funding opportunities to secure funds for the project, and also for reporting back to all the funding agencies as per their reporting cycles. Community development. The staff for the community development is Community Development Manager Jeffrey Woden, EDO Jordan Chichu, Economic Development Vacant, Community Center Coordinator Samantha Nuchai, Life Path Program Coordinator Amanda Jolly, Life Path Support Liaison Shirley Patatagus, and the Tourism Coordinator, which is currently vacant. The Community Development Division delivers projects, programs, and services to the community through Economic Development Program, the Community Center Program, Life Path Program, Summer Student Program. And the goal of the Community Development Program services are to contribute to an increased quality of life for the members of AA. Economic Development Program. The Economic Development Program is partially funded by ISC and partially by the Ontario First Nations Limited Partnership Fund to work with community special projects as well as deliver economic development services. And in addition to this, the program coordinates access to other applicable outreach programs and financing through various organizations for Atikameksheng membership. The main responsibility of the Economic Development Program include holding monthly business meetings with the Atikameksheng retailers, distributing tobacco quota to Atikameksheng retailers, performing monthly store audits as determined by the emergency response team, looking and applying for funding opportunities for business and training and employment programs, and offering employment and training opportunities to the membership. Community Center Program. The Community Center Program is funded by the Ontario First Nations Limited Partnership Fund, as well as revenue generated by event rentals and long-term office lease agreements. The goal of the Community Center Program is to operate profitably while offering a venue for community and outside events and functions. The Community Center is the emergency community gathering location as per the Community Emergency plan and is available as a gathering location should there be an emergency or natural disaster that happens. Lands management. The staff and lands management, oh, I guess we went through that pretty quick there, but we went through it already anyways. The goal of the Lands Management Division is to manage the lands and natural resources in accordance with AA Lands Management Code 2008. The division oversees the following programs: natural resources, environmental coordination, and the lands registry. The Lands Management Division takes its guidance from the First Nations Lands Management Act 1999, Framework Agreement, Land Code, Land Use Plan, Forest Management Plan, Environmental Management Action Plan, and the draft environmental assessment law to be finalized in the current fiscal year. Mineral development. Staff is Serena Kunwar. The Mineral Development Division is responsible for reviewing applications and providing support and guidance in decision-making process and in regards to mineral development activities within the AA traditional territories. This includes 1, reviewing exploration plans and permits, reviewing closure plans, consulting and meeting with the community, industry, and or government pertaining to exploration notices, attending site visits to exploration sites, building community education and awareness, and attending seminars and training related to exploration. Departmental committees. The Business Park Steering Committee is the portfolio counselor is Councillor Harvey Patatagus, and the members are Business Park Coordinator is the lead, the Director of Lands and Economic Development, Director of Housing Infrastructure, the Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Public Works Manager, Lands Manager, Community Development Manager, Business Development Manager, Economic Development Officer, Lands and Economic Development Administrative Assistant, as well as 2 band members. And the committee meets monthly. Next committee is the Economic Development Committee, and the portfolio counselor is Gima Kragnushkai, who's the lead. And the members are Community Development Manager is Resource, Director of Lands and Economic Development, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, the Economic Development Officer, Business Development Manager, Lands and Economic Development Administrative Assistant, as well as 4 band members. The meeting dates are monthly. The Lands Committee, the portfolio counselor is Art Patatagus, who's the lead, and the members are the Lands Manager as a resource, Lands Assistant, Land Staff as required, and the 6 band members. And they meet every second Tuesday. The Life Path Steering Committee, portfolio counselor is Arthur Patatagus, and the members are the Community Development Manager, who's the lead, Life Path Program Coordinator, Life Path Support Liaison, Chief Executive Officer, Director of Lands and Economic Development, Director of Health and Community Wellness, Director of Education and Social Services, the Economic Development Officer, and members of KGHM, Glencore, Ballet, and Niganing. And they meet monthly. And Summer Student Hiring Committee. The Community Development Manager is the lead, and there's 5 internal directors and managers and the Human Resource Manager, and the meeting dates are through the summer months, May, June, July, and August. And is that it? That is it. Take a second here while Tiana loads up the work plan there. I'm just gonna get caught up in my chats. Can you make that a bit bigger? Perfect. Okay, the Tikimishing Anishinaabe Lands and Economic Development Department Work Plan 2022-2023. As indicated, it's from Chapter 4, Prosperity Development of the CCP, and there were 4 goals. Each goal had its various strategies, and I shall go through them now. Strategy 1.1, Goal 1, sorry. Significantly reduce and eventually end poverty of individuals and families. Strategy 1.1, creation of Life Path program and related supports that enable our community to achieve sustainable well-being and prosperity, and the priority is high. And the activity and action step is to create a Life Path program with measurable outcomes. What do I expect to achieve? Life Path program budget approval for 2021 to 2022. Grants and support the programs are in place. Life Path program coordinator hired by April 2021. Life Path Program Plan and Course Development, terms of reference for Life Path Program Committee, and formation of Life Path Program Committee. And that's relevant chapter is chapter 4, strategy 1.1. Next one is to implement pilot program to work with families that desire to improve their social and economic outcomes. And the measurable outcome is 5 members put on path to improve their social and economic outcomes. Next activity action step is the Life Path program to become fully operational. And the measurable outcome is to able to increase the cohort intake by 15 band members. Strategy 1.2, Life Path program as coordinator and glue, priority high. Life Path program as coordinator and glue to continuity and connections between program opportunities. And the program continues to next year, i.e. 2022 and 2023. So we're waiting on funding confirmation on that. Strategy 1.3, support small and medium-sized business development, priorities high. Activity and action steps for this strategy are create linkages to existing programs for business development. Measurable outcome is small, medium businesses avail of the programs to offer, and success achieved due to linkage. Next action step is to needs assessment of gaps within those pre-existing programs, and summary report of EDO as a measurable income. Create a program that fills the gaps discovered in needs assessment. Again, summary report by the EDO. Strategy 1.4, setting goals and measuring progress, priority, medium, high. The action steps under this strategy include prepare a survey to determine poverty levels in the community, survey sheet developed by the consultant, acquire data on how many members live below the poverty line, data acquired by May 2022, determine geographical locations of where these individuals or families reside. Kathleen, I always have that problem when I present there. I gotta slow down. So I know I've got a lot to go through, and my apologies for speaking a little bit fast, but I'll try and slow down.
Well, the thing is,
right?
the thing is, Chris, is that I can't even write a question down that I want to ask you at the end.
Oh,
so
okay.
you're
My
not going to take
apologies.
time to go through it. You may not have as many questions at the end from participants. That's just a note for you.
Thank you
So
very
thank
much.
you. Thank you. Jing Miigwech.
Geographic locations are being recorded on our measurable outcome. Activity action step, assess what poverty has on well-being, and the measurable outcome, consultant report received on the impacts. The next action step is determine steps to making progress on addressing findings of survey, and the measurable outcome here is to implementation plan is in place. And the last one is to set a 2-year goal on 5% reduction of individuals or families living in poverty. And the measurable outcome here is the detailed blueprint, plan, and goals are in place for the next 2 years. Strategy 1.5, establish an incubator model for the small business development. Priority is medium. Activity action step is the business park, and the measurable outcome here is to source funding and find location near business park. Strategy 1.6, link monitoring and evaluation to continuous improvement of performance and outcomes. Priority here is high. Activity action step, measure strategic pathways and projective outcomes, and the measure outcome, foster continuous improvement of performance and outcomes. Next action step is the reflection of measurement results, and the measurable outcome for this one is to report on the measured results. Goal 2, create sustainable wealth for the First Nation. Strategy 2.1, establish a policy for how own source revenue will be invested into net growth of wealth, and the priority here is high. The activity and action step is to establish a policy on how own source revenue will be utilized to ensure a portion is invested into net growth of our wealth. The measurable outcome, prevent spending money needed to invest, ultimately growing sustainable wealth. Strategy 2.2, establish Community Development Corporation. Action step here is establish Economic Development Corporation, and the measurable outcome is the Economic Development Corporation established and operations started. Next item is provide financial governance and management structures through the Development Corporation, and the consultant report incorporates them under measurable outcome. Define mission, vision, values, and strategies of corporation, and again, the consultant reports are incorporating them, and they're going to be done by the end of the fiscal year. We're just finalizing it right now, and we have a community meeting scheduled, I believe, Jeff, at the end of the month. And so we'll be posting that shortly. Implement negotiation of impact benefit agreements, investments, business partnerships through corporation. And the measurable outcome here is the department to work alongside corporation as required. And develop financial instruments, i.e. trust funds, insurance programs, and to protect processes and the people served by these instruments. Goal 3, ensure the work of enhancing prosperity of our community members and that of building wealth of our First Nations are mutually reinforcing. Strategy 3.1, develop a policy for the utilization of the 40% of own source revenues not designated for investment in wealth generation, and the priority here is high. And the action steps are to develop a policy for utilization of 40% of own source revenues not designated for investment in wealth generation, and the policy has been developed. Allocate funds to support programs and initiatives that will enhance sustainable prosperity, and the funds have been allocated. Allocate funds to support fit job readiness and on entrepreneurial startups. The funds are being allocated, and to allocate funds for supplementing ticket machine administration and program efforts, and funds have been allocated. And invest in nation's business initiatives, and investments have been made. Strategy 3.2, invest in businesses that will create opportunities for Atikamekw individuals and families to earn their livelihoods, priority being medium. Invest in businesses that will create opportunities for Atikamekw individuals and families to earn livelihoods, measurable outcome. Joint ventures under Economic Development Corporation to create employment opportunities for the membership. Strategy 3.3, invest in businesses that build on the strengths of our people, priority medium. Invest in businesses that build on the strengths of our people, department resources, working with the ANT, the Anishinaabe negotiation team, for those who might not be familiar with the acronym. Engage our people in search for and development of new business opportunities. Keep track of businesses who benefited from such initiatives. Strategy 3.4, develop joint ventures and IBAs and other partnerships, priority being medium. Develop mutually beneficial agreement between the Atikamekw, Anishinaabe, and membership. And the measurable outcome here is develop departmental resources working with ANT and membership. Strategy 3.5, invest in business ventures located in population centers where our people are living, priority medium. Again, invest in business ventures located in population centers where our people are living, and measurable outcome, Economic Development Corporation identifies potential business operation areas. Goal number 4, achieve prosperity without compromising the well-being and sustainability of the natural world. Strategy 4.1, establish environmental management standards, and the priority being high. Establish environmental management standards. The cultural programs manager would like to participate, providing his knowledge, look at how we can incorporate established environmental standards in the office, i.e. moving to paperless. Measurable outcomes, sustainability of natural environment maintained. And next action step is to apply standards when assessing feasibility of all economic ventures with which ETIC is anyway associated. And again, sustainability of the natural environment is being maintained. Okay, focus economic ventures on those which enable us to use green technologies and methodologies. Action step is focus on green economic ventures, and the measurable outcome being avoid ventures that are environmentally unfriendly. So that's chapter 4. Now, next section is chapter 5, environmental and lands and environmental stewardship. Goal 1, map and inventory traditional territories. Strategy 1.1, data gathering mechanisms. Action step. Utilize data gathering mechanism to map and take inventory of traditional territory. Up-to-date database that is maintained. Identifying all technology softwares needed to complete these mapping projects. And a measurable outcome is to benefit the community when mining, forestry, and other body activities are taking place on the First Nation. And then next action step is to formulate action plan and schedule. Areas will be protected by their cultural significance or environmentally noted highlights such as species at risk. Effective mapping will in return be a story for the community to show the cultural practices that took place, economic and community development over time, and any environmentally restoration that has occurred. Strategy 1.2, carrying out this mapping project in stages. Action step, develop stages of the mapping project, measurable outcome, stages being developed to move the work forward. Action step is to implement stages of mapping project, budget approval for year 2022, and mapping data available as stages are completed. Strategy 1.3, research green energy and community generated options for new buildings and the community. Action step, research green energy and community generated options for both new buildings and the whole community. Community center energy audit has been completed for the measurable outcome. Next action step is conduct assessment on electricity production, access to drinking water, sewers, and solid waste disposal. And this is where we work in conjunction with the Housing and Infrastructure Department. Strategy 1.4, carry out a state of environmental study for our reserve lands and traditional territory. Action step, assess condition of our forests, waterways, wetlands, and other natural areas. Measurable outcome, condition monitoring report prepared and preparation is made to mitigate any risk apprehended. Goal 2, rationalize the nation's code and policies related to land use and environmental stewardship. Strategy 2.1, cultural foundations. Action step, hold community consultation sessions and interviews with key knowledge holders. Cultural program has interviewed elders and would like to continue with this group. And the measurable outcome is obtaining information from community to demonstrate areas that are culturally significant. Next action step, create statement of values and principles that provide foundation for commissioning land use legislation. Measurable outcome, through consultation with the community and interviews with key knowledge holders, a statement of values and principles is created. Strategy 2.2, carry out a review of the land code. Action step, review the land code, measurable outcomes, recommendations received from the lands committee. Next action step is to produce report of land code review and measurable outcome, a report from lands committee with list of the required changes. Next action step is to for approval and ratification, create a comprehensive implementation plan of amendments, and a measurable outcome is to review the amendments to be brought forward to Chief and Council, approval and implementation in place. Strategy 2.3, carry out a review of environmental management action plan. Action step, review environmental management action plan, EMAP has been reviewed. Next action step is to determine which changes are required to the EMP. A list is created with recommended changes as measurable outcome. Next action step and activity is to create comprehensive implementation plan of amendments. Measurable outcome, comprehensive implementation plan for amendments is developed. Action step, define and develop policies and processes for handling violations on reserve and on traditional land. And measurable outcome being policies and processes related to violations are developed. Strategy 2.4, establish environmental review board. Action step, establish environmental review board, measurable outcome. In the long term, the lands committee will assume responsibility of environmental reviews. Strategy 2.5, create a guardianship program. Action step, create a guardianship program, and the measurable outcome being ensure environmental standards set by Tiggermachine and Nishnabek are upheld and complied with by resource development companies. And next action step is to implement a summer student internship and to provide land-based training to summer students. Strategy 2.6, ensure the forest management plan has a systematic implementation plan. Action step is to develop a forest management implementation plan. Measurable outcomes being implementation of the forest management plan. All natural resource projects and decisions will abide by the forestry management plan, and the community will be informed of any changes while implementing this plan. Strategy 2.7, compliance of mining activities. Action step, ensure that land use and environmental management plans are applied to the activities of the mining sector. Measurable outcome, new activities brought forward by the ENDM is responded, keeping in view of the land use law and EMAP for consultation protocol. Goal 3, create mechanisms to ensure that Tiggermachine benefits equitably from all forestry, mining, and other land use. Strategy 3.1, carry out best practices survey of benefit agreements. Action step, conduct best practices survey of benefit agreements. Measurable outcome, work alongside governance as a resource to establish the toolkit. Next action step is to produce a report of survey findings. Measurable outcome, work alongside governance as a resource to establish toolkit. Strategy 3.2, develop a comprehensive set of guidelines for benefit agreements. Action step is to develop a comprehensive set of guidelines for benefit agreements using best practice review, and again, to work alongside the governance as a resource to establish the toolkit. Strategy 3.3, ensure that human resources are in place. Action step, ensure that human resources are in place, measurable outcome, work alongside governance as a resource to establish toolkit. Next action step is to ensure that benefit agreements are aligned with Tiggermachine stewardship principles, and again, we'll work alongside governance as a resource to establish the toolkit. Goal 4, work with provincial and other regulatory bodies to ensure that their policies fully support Indigenous land rights and adopt environmental stewardship practices. Strategy 4.1, engage with the provincial government. Action step, review and respond to mineral exploration plans and permits, as well as closure plans or closure plan amendments. Measurable outcome, work with the MDA mineral to provide responses to all notifications that are received. Tiggermachine is aware of all mineral exploration and development activities taking place in traditional territory. NDMNRF proponents have a better understanding of impacts the mineral exploration development projects are having on Tiggermachine rights. Our next action item is to engage with the provincial government in dialogue about issues that are impacting the capacity of Tiggermachine, and to work alongside the provincial government and other regulatory bodies to amend our statute as per Tiggermachine's needs. And strategy 4.2, support the work of regional Indigenous organizations. Action step, support the work of regional Indigenous organizations that are working to ensure that provincial government land use and environmental protection policies protect First Nations. Measurable outcome, participate at regional tables to discuss the Tiggermachine's opinion and support them. Goal 5, fully resource the Lands and Environmental Stewardship Department and Program. Strategy 5.1, develop a short and medium-term human resource plan and identify funding sources. Action step, develop a short-term HR plan, measurable outcome, plan in place and filling positions as required. Develop a medium-term HR plan. The plan is in place and we are filling positions as needed with new ongoing projects as funding allows. And action step, identify funding sources. Fully sustained lands and resource department with capacity building, successful thriving land division, and apply for grants to sustain full-time employment opportunities in the lands and resources department. Goal 6, create a lands and environmental related communication strategy. Goal 6.1, create a regular feature in the community newsletter. Action step is to create a regular feature in the community newsletter and a measurable outcome. Newsletter released every month that highlights new development related to land use and environmental stewardship issues, policies, and actions. Rule 6.2, compile a user-friendly guide related to land use and environmental stewardship documents, policies, and litigation. Action step, develop a guide related to land use and environmental stewardship documents. Measurable outcome, land use guide and environmental stewardship documents are being developed and are user-friendly. And if I'm not mistaken, that is the end of the Lands and Economic Development Department work plan. So with the agenda, we are now going to hand the floor over to Tiana, who will take you through the Business Park Development work plan.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to go over the Business Park Coordinator's program work plan for 2022 to 2023. So the Business Park Coordinator follows Chapter 7. That chapter is Infrastructure Development and Management. So goal 1 is to develop a 40-year infrastructure capital plan that sets goals and identifies funding for new construction, as well as ongoing maintenance and upkeep or current infrastructure in a phased process of growth consisting of 5-year plans between the years 2010 and 2015 or 2050. So strategy 1.1. So an important part of our capital plan will be an assets management plan that anticipates repairs and maintenance needs on all public buildings, such as the need for a new roof, new flooring, new furnace system, etc. Also, as part of this plan, we will identify funding for the infrastructure priorities identified in the community story and CCP process, which includes the following. An Elders Lodge, which could be part of a new extended care facility that serves the Tikmishing and Anishinaabeg, as well as other Indigenous people in the area. A cultural center, a foster care facility that could also house a women's center / shelter. A new band office or renovation of an extension to the existing facility, bypass road from the business park to the landfill site, tourism area with a hotel, separate entry to the business park from Highway 55, and streetlights on the corner entering the reserve and business park. So the first activity / action step for this strategy was to assist in identifying funding for the Elders Lodge, Cultural Center, and/or foster care facility that is possibly located at the business park. So the measurable outcome, funding is identified and an application is prepared, submitted, and approved. And an Elders Lodge, Cultural Center, and/or foster care facility is possibly constructed in the business park. Sorry. The next strategy was to identify funding for a new band office that is possibly located at the business park. So the measurable outcome, a plan is developed and funding is identified, either government or own source. So funding is identified and an application is prepared, submitted, and approved. Coordinate community consultation sessions before new projects at the business park are being considered and while the project is ongoing. So increase in community member participation. Community members are interested in providing feedback, questions, and/or recommendations about our future or ongoing projects. And community members feel included and are informed about the business park project. So the next activity was to utilize the information obtained from the community consultation session and inform the business park steering committee and Chijingwak board of directors. So the measurable outcome for this was all community feedback is properly recorded and discussed. So strategy 1.5 was to review this 3-stage plan for developing the business park annually to ensure that its implementation is still feasible under current conditions, and also that the business park is contributing to social good, for example, by providing incubation space for new community small businesses or employment for people by giving space to band-owned enterprises. So the activity action step was to prepare a 3-stage plan and review the document annually. And the measurable outcome was an official business plan is developed from the business development plan that is currently in place. The leased lots cover the cost of maintenance of the business park and future construction projects. The business park is properly maintained and looks appealing to current and future tenants. And all 18 lots are developed for small businesses and/or band-owned enterprises. So for example, a restaurant, grocery store, hotel, etc. So the next activity was to provide incubation space for new community small businesses or employment for people by giving space to band-owned enterprises. So the measurable outcome for this was fully serviced lots are created in phase 2 or phase 3, where local businesses or band-owned enterprises could establish themselves and potentially look at other options within the community. So goal 7 was to communicate regularly and effectively with community members about infrastructure planning and implementation processes. So this strategy was 7.1, which is to hold regular community consultation process to collect data for needs assessment processes whenever new projects are being considered. So a special design charrettes will give community members the opportunity to share their ideas about innovative ways to create new facilities. And the action step was to coordinate community consultation sessions before new projects at the business park are being considered and while the project is ongoing. So the measurable outcome for this activity was increase in community member participation. Community members are interested in providing feedback, questions, and/or recommendations about our future or ongoing projects. And community members feel included and are informed about the business park project. So strategy 7.2, create a communication strategy to provide regular information about progress on infrastructure development and maintenance projects, as well as information about how projects are being funded. So the activity / action step for this was to communicate to members through the Tikmikshing and Anishinaabeg website, Facebook, Twitter, community flyer, and monthly newsletter. So the measurable outcome for this was community members are interested in providing feedback, questions, and their recommendations on the post. Community members are sharing the informative posts so that more members are aware. Members feel included and knowledgeable of the business park project. And then chapter 4, which is prosperity development. So goal 1, to significantly reduce and eventually to end chronic poverty of our individuals and families. So strategy 1.5, establish an incubator mall for small business development. So the activity action step for this was to develop a plan for the development of an incubator mall at the business park. Measurable outcome, a plan is developed and funding is identified, either government or own source. Funding application is prepared, submitted, and approved, and a fully serviced building containing a number of spaces, for example, 12, that could be occupied by new small businesses struggling to find their feet is developed. Businesses could operate out of these spaces at a reduced cost as they receive technical support and other kinds of assistance in helping them to develop. But yeah, this is all that I had for the business park coordinator's work plan.
Very good, Tiana. We'll now move over to our community development manager, Jeffrey Bolden, to present his work plan.
Thank you, Curtis. So I'll just share my screen. Oh, I gotta stop the share there. Wrong screen, sorry everyone. Okay. Sharing my screen, is that big enough or do we want it to be zoomed in a little bit? I'll zoom in a little bit regardless, because I see I got a lot of area to work with anyways.
A request to make it just a little bit bigger there, if you don't mind, Jeff.
I'll go 150 and hopefully that's big enough for everyone to see. Hide the ribbons there. So for everyone that doesn't know, my name is Jeff Bodway. I'm the Community Development Manager here at Tikmixing. And I oversee a few different programs, including the Community Center, Business Development, Economic Development, and the Life Path program. So I'll just be going through the work plan for this upcoming year. You will be seeing a number of repeats from the overall department work plan, but it's a bit more specific to the duties that I hold as well. So the majority of this work plan does take place in Chapter 4, Prosperity Development. Goal 1 is significantly reduce and eventually end poverty of individuals and families, with strategy 1.1, creation of a life path program and related supports that enable our community to achieve sustainable well-being and prosperity. So the first action here is we have been running for the past year. We're coming to a close here in March with the funding, and it's to continue the life path program into the new fiscal year. Measurable outcomes is having the budget approved, grants to support the program being in place, and life path program and course development is being done within external and internal collaborators for the best of the participants. And this is in strategy, Chapter 4, strategy 1.1. Promote the program to community and work with former participants to communicate their experiences in the program. And measurable outcome of this is just attracting a full cohort of life path participants. Again, Chapter 4, strategy 1.1. Another activity and action step would be life path program becomes fully operational. And this would be a measurable outcome of this one would be running the program for a second time while looking for multi-year funding or achieving multi-year funding for the program so that it can be hosted in the foreseeable future and providing supports for up to 5 years or more for the participants. So strategy 1.2, again, still in Chapter 4 here. Life Path program coordinator as glue between the community and connections between different program opportunities. So a measurable outcome of this is staff are retained in the program and they can continue into 23-24, working with the program coordinator and myself to find different opportunities to achieve some funding and support the community with this program. Strategy 1.3, support small and medium-sized business development. Again, this strategy falls into Chapter 4. So activity, create linkages to existing programs for business development. So small and medium, measurable outcome of this, small and medium businesses on the reserve and within community, that band members own, have availability of the programs, and success of this is due to linkages and making sure that those businesses are aware of everything that's available to them. Needs gaps assessment within those businesses, within pre-existing programs. This measurable outcome of this is a summary report by the Economic Development Officer, which we are currently working on, both with employment and different programs for entrepreneurs. Create a program that fills the gaps that discovers in those needs assessments. So this is, again, summary report by the Economic Development Officer is something that needs to be done once the summary report is completed. So making sure that we're creating programs so that we can help address those needs that we figure out through the pre-existing programs. Well, everything in this one falls in strategy 1.3 of Chapter 4. Moving on to strategy 1.4, setting goals and measuring progress, priority, medium, high. So the first activity here is prepare a survey to determine poverty levels within the community. Measurable outcome of this is a survey sheet is developed. This can be found in strategy 1.4 of chapter 4. Acquire data on how many members live below the poverty line. Data to be acquired by May 2022 is a measurable outcome of this. This item may be pushed back slightly, but we are working with Indigenous Research Institute to put together something so we can present a potential survey going forward, potentially later on in this month. It's still that to be determined on the date on that. Determine geographical locations of where these individuals or families reside. So measurable outcome, geographical locations are recorded. Assess what impact poverty has on their well-being. This is working with the consultant to provide us with a report on the impacts. Determining steps to make progress on addressing findings of the survey, and implementation plan is put in place. Again, this is working alongside the consultant and within the staff within the community development department. Set 2-year goal on reduction of 5% of individuals or families living in poverty. Detailed blueprint plan goals are in place for the next 2 years. Those are short-term, and then also creating longer-term goals as well. Every single one of these action steps takes place in chapter 4 in strategy 1.4 in CCP. So strategy 1.5, establish an incubator model for a small business development. Activity, action, step, work with the business park. Measurable outcome of this would be space being made in the multi-office complex. This is a measurable outcome that might not happen, which won't be able to happen until at least phase 2 is completed, as we just spoke about the business park not too long ago with Tiana there. So that's in chapter 4, strategy 1.5. Now, strategy 1.6, link monitoring and evaluation to continuous improvement of performance and outcomes. Obviously, this is a high priority item. The activities under this strategy are measuring strategic pathways and projected outcomes. So foster continuous improvement of performance and outcomes. This is done through the performance reviews, through frequent meetings with staff, making sure that we are staying on top of any items that we're setting ourselves up to achieve. Reflection of measurement results, report on measured results. This item comes in the way of annual reports from the staff and through interviews at the end of the year and performance appraisals. So goal number 2, this is still in chapter 4. So create a sustainable wealth for the First Nation. Strategy 2.1, establish a policy on how own source revenue will be invested into net growth of wealth. Establish a policy establish a policy for how own source revenue will be utilized to ensure a portion is invested into net growth for our wealth. So measurable outcome, prevent spending money needed to invest, ultimately grow sustainable wealth. This is as well as another measurable outcome, and this is being a resource for the development of the policy. And this is in chapter 4, strategy 2.1. Enter strategy 2.2. Establish a community development corporation, also known as an economic development corporation. So the activities and steps are as follows. Establish an economic development corporation. The measurable outcome is an economic development corporation has been established and operations have started. Provide financial governance and management structures through the development corporation. Consultant report will include this. We're currently working with a consultant on this, and the consultant should be completing the project coming up near the end of March. So a lot of this stuff is going to be carrying over into the next fiscal, which is what these work plans are focusing on. Define vision, mission, values, and strategies of the corporation. Consultant report. Implementation, negotiation of impact benefit agreements, investments, business partnerships through the corporation. So the department to work with the corporation as needed on these pieces. Develop financial instruments, trust funds, insurance programs, protect processes and the people served by these instruments. So that's a measure of outcome there, is that they have been developed. And as Curtis, I believe, had mentioned a bit earlier on, there is going to be a community consultation on the Economic Development Corporation. So if you are interested in providing your input, we will be having a consultation session. I believe it is next Tuesday, but there will be social media posts as well as something in the flyer this Friday. And if you provide me with your email, I can send you the Zoom link if you are interested in attending directly. And I can just provide me the email before the end of the evening here today. Goal number 3, ensure the work of enhancing prosperity of our community and members and that of building wealth of our First Nations are mutually reinforcing. Strategy 3.3 is the main area of the focus for myself. Invest in businesses that build on the strengths of our people. Engage with activity or action step. Engage with our people and search for and development of new business opportunities. Measure outcome is keeping track of businesses who benefit from these such initiatives, keeping track of businesses overall which have been able to start up in consultation and having a better idea of what the interests are within the community is another measurable outcome there. Subject 3.4, develop joint ventures and IBAs and other partnerships. Activity or action step, develop mutually beneficial agreements between the Tikmikshing and Anishinaabe and membership. The economic development measurable outcome, the Economic Development Corporation supports the Tikmikshing and Anishinaabe First Nation financially with funding from the joint ventures. So a lot of the negotiations with joint venture corporations, actually all of them will be, once the Economic Development Corporation has been set up, will happen with them. Strategy 3.5, invest in business ventures located in population centers where our people are living. So the activity or action step with that one is exactly what the strategy is and measurable outcome there. Businesses are able to access resources they need and to be able to operate both on and off reserve. So making sure we're able to support off reserve businesses and the on reserve businesses so that as everyone is a band member. And that's strategy 3.5 of chapter 4. Now, goal number 4, achieve prosperity without compromising the well-being and sustainability of the natural world. Strategy 4.1, establish environmental management standards. So 2 activities under this strategy here. Establish environmental management standards. Measurable outcome for this one is just the standard has been finalized. And then the next one is apply standards when assessing feasibility of all economic ventures with which a Tikmikshing is anyway associated. So sustainability of natural environment is maintained whenever new ventures are being taken under. Both these are in chapter 4, strategy 4.1. And the final item here is strategy 4.2, focus on economic ventures on those which enable us to use green technologies and methodologies. So the activity or action step is focus on green economic ventures. A measurable outcome is avoiding ventures that are environmentally unfriendly. And again, that is strategy 4.2 in chapter 4. And that is everything from the community development work plan.
Miigwech, Jeff.
Miigwech.
All right, so next on the agenda is 4.4 lands management, and we're going to have our lands manager, Lori Richey, take us through it. And the floor is yours, Lori.
All right, miigwech, Curtis, Ani to everybody, good evening. I'll get my screen set up here. Okay, can everybody see that good?
Looks good.
Okay, thank you. I thought for a minute I was back on mute. I was gonna say, oh, now I'm really in trouble. Okay, so with the lands management program, this is our work plan for this evening. And in the CCP, it does identify 6 goals within the lands department. This is seen in chapter 5 under the lands and environmental stewardship. Goal 1 that has been identified is to map and inventory traditional territory. So part of the strategy, the 1.1 with data gathering mechanisms, the activity is going to be involved is utilizing data gathering mechanisms to map and take inventory of traditional territory. The measurable outcome and how we wish to achieve this is going to be with the use of ArcGIS Online, GIS Professional, Esri as an operating system. We'd like to establish a contract with Steve Burnett and Associates for existing capital plan maps, land use, RFP for part-time systems administrator, as well as training for staff to work within these programs. The strategy for 1.2, where we wish to carry out this mapping project in stages. We'll be developing stages of a mapping project. We'll format all existing digital mapping information, construct geo databases for the lands program, data collection, formatting, and equipment alignment, as well as training as well in order to be able to conduct this. Another action step involved with this strategy will be the implementation stages of mapping projects. So to construct layers, maps of existing data that we currently have, as well as use land use data, data collection formatting, and this will involve training again. Goal 2, to rationalize the nation's code and policies related to land use and environmental stewardship. The strategy that we identified is under cultural foundations. The activity and action step will be to hold community consultation sessions and interviews with key knowledge holders. What we wish to achieve is obtaining information from the community to demonstrate areas that are culturally significant. We'd also like to create statement of values and principles that provide the foundation for Tikmikshing land use legislation. And this again will be achieved through the consultations with the community and interviews with key knowledge holders. A statement of values and principles will be created. One of the strategies in 2.2 in order to carry out a review of the land code is currently an activity that is taking place, as well as that'll go into the new fiscal year as well. We are currently under a review with the land code. We'll be bringing, the lands committee is bringing forth recommendations that are going to be significant in being able to bring, our land code is currently outdated, so we need to bring that up to date. Lands division will carry the process forward. We will produce a report of the land code review, list the required changes for an up-to-date review, determine what changes are required to the land code, and we'll bring those recommendations with resolutions, policies, procedures, and practices forward. We will be, another action step in being able to produce these changes will be to create a comprehensive implementation plans of the amendments. And this review of amendments will be brought forward to Chief and Council and then to the community ratification for changes with the land code. So strategy 2.3 to carry out a review of the environmental management action plan. Currently, the activity that we are undergoing is a review of the environmental management action plan. The EMAP is fully reviewed and the implementation of the changes will take place. We will determine which changes are required in order to bring our EMP up to date, and a list will be created with the recommended changes. We'll also create comprehensive implementation plan of amendments, and this comprehensive implementation plan for amendments will be developed and then presented. We will define the policies and processes for handling violations on reserve and on traditional land, and the policies and processes related to the violations will be developed in this process as well. Strategy 2.4 to establish an environmental review board. As it states, the activity is to establish this review board. What we hope to achieve with our measurable outcome in the long term is that the Lands Committee will assume responsibility of these environmental reviews. So these will all be brought forward to the committee. Another strategy will be to create a guardianship program. The measurable outcome is we'd like to ensure that the environmental standards set by Tikmikshing and Anishinaabeg are upheld and compiled with by resource development companies. We'd like to also implement a summer student internship and provide land-based training to summer students. And then we would continue growing on that. Strategy 2.6 to ensure that the forestry management has a systematic implementation plan. We'd like to develop a forestry management implementation plan and keep it updated. We found with the implementation forest management plan, it is a working document and we need to keep this closely up to date with all the changes that are happening. So all natural resource projects and decisions will abide by the FMP, and the community will be informed of any changes while implementing this plan. The compliance of mining activities. We want to ensure that the land use and the environmental management plans are applied to the activities of the mining sector. Any activities in the mining sector will be accompanied with the land use and the EMAP for consultation protocol, and we'll ensure that all of those are followed. Goal 3, to create mechanisms to ensure that the Tikmikshing benefits equity from all forestry, mining, and other land uses. Strategy 3.1, to carry out the best practice of survey of benefit agreements. The action step to conduct best practices survey of benefit agreements. This will be done in open lines of communication and building outside partnerships. Also to produce report of survey findings. The measurable outcome will be to ensure that we are keeping up to date with information. Strategy 3.2, to develop a comprehensive set of guidelines for benefit agreements. The activity is to develop a comprehensive set of guidelines for benefit agreements using best practice review. What we wish to achieve is long-term economic development for the First Nation is achieved through agreements and amendments such as employment opportunities, business revenue to the First Nation, environmental monitoring at the party's expense, and capacity building. Strategy 3.3 is to ensure that human resources are in place. We want to ensure that human resources are in place and that policies that are in place and are being followed. We want to ensure that the benefit agreements are aligned with the Tikmikshing stewardship principles, and this is to ensure that the policies and procedures are being followed as well. In goal 4, work with provincial government and other regulatory bodies to ensure that their policies fully support Indigenous land rights and adopt environmental stewardship practices. The action step, it's to engage the provincial government in dialogue about the issues that are impacting the capacity of the Tikmikshing. What we want to achieve is to work along with the provincial government and other regulatory bodies to create employment opportunities for the First Nation. Strategy 4.2, to support the work of regional Indigenous organizations. The activities to support the work of regional Indigenous organizations that are working to ensure that provincial government land use and environmental protection policies protect First Nations. What we want to achieve is to provide technical assistance with negotiating agreements with partners and to provide revenue for work being done with the traditional territory that the Tikmikshing and Anishinaabeg is entitled to. Goal 5 that's been identified is to fully resource the Lands and Environmental Stewardship Department and program. We'd like to develop a short-term HR plan, and this is filling positions as they are required, as well as develop a medium-term HR plan, and this is filling positions as needed with the new ongoing projects as funding allows. We'd also like to identify funding sources. This would be fully sustained Lands and Resource Department with capacity building, as well as successful thriving Lands Department. What we've managed to do in just the past couple of years is build up the capacity within the Lands Department with additional positions that we've long needed within the department. So it's exciting to see that we're building the capacity. Goal 6, to create a land and environmental related communication strategy. We'd like to create a regular feature in the community newsletter. This would allow us to highlight news developments related to the land use and environmental stewardship issues, as well as policies and actions. Strategy 6.2, to compile user-friendly guide related to land use and environmental stewardship documents, policies, and legislation. We'd like to develop a guide related to land use and environmental stewardship documents. This land use guide and environmental stewardship documents would be developed by us, and then would also be user-friendly, but it would provide all the communications that we are wanting to get out to membership and community with what's going on in the Lands Division. And that is my presentation.
Jimmy Gwitch, Lori. All right, so on section 4.5 is mineral development, and we have our mineral development advisor, Saruna Kunwar, who's going to lead us through her presentation. Saruna, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you, Curtis. Good evening, everyone. My name is Saruna Kumar, and I work as the Mineral Development Advisor at Mixing. My main role is to assist the department, Lands and Economic Development Department, with the decision-making in regards to the mineral exploration and development activities that's ongoing in the Mixing traditional territories. I will share my screen. It may take a few seconds here.
I apologize for taking so long taking it off.
That's okay.
It's my fault. I couldn't find the tab for it.
No, it gave me some time to. Can everyone see my screen now?
Make it a little bit bigger, please.
Okay, yeah. So I'll be going through my work plan for 2022-2023. This is a funded position, and we usually get the funding for a 3-year term, and we'll be awaiting for the next funding term for the 2022 to 2025 from the ministry. So my duties are mainly explained largely under Chapter 5, Lands and Environmental Stewardship. So all the goals and strategies identified there have been already talked. So I'll go through which activities and action items I'll be undertaking. So my goal 1 is to coordinate with the provincial government, specifically the Ontario Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, to increase Mixing's participation in the mineral exploration and development projects in traditional territory. Strategy 1.1 is to share community concerns with the ministry and proponents regarding any mineral exploration and development projects in Mixing Anishinaabe traditional territory. The action under this goal is to stay current with the Ontario Mining Act and all associated regulations in relation to mineral exploration and development. Measurable outcome under there is MDA is aware of the provincial legislations and guidelines in relation to the mineral exploration and development activities and ensure that these projects and activities comply to these guidelines. Another activity is to attend annual and quarterly meetings with the ministry when invited to discuss ATMXing's participation in consultation processes and other mining related topics. The outcome under here is that the ministry has better understanding of the consultation processes relating to mineral exploration and development activities, as well MDA has increased knowledge of the ministry's processes. Another activity is to review and respond to all the mineral exploration plans and permit notifications that we receive, as well as the mine closure plan or closure plan amendments. Outcome here is the MDA provides responses to all notifications that are received, and ATMXing is aware of all the mineral exploration and development activities taking place. Another activity is to engage and support engagement with early exploration proponents to whom the aspects of ministry's consultation process have been delegated. That may also include meetings with the industry proponents. Outcome here is engagement and consultation processes are completed pursuant to the Mining Act, and also ensuring that these are conducted to ATMXing's satisfaction. Strategy 1.2 is to attend meetings with the regional organizations when invited. The activity here is to attend meetings with regional indigenous organizations such as the Anishinaabe Nations when invited, and also to stay current with the regional activities pertaining to mining sector. Another activity is also to provide support and share concerns and provide input when required. Measurable outcome is ATMXing Anishinaabe is actively participating and providing input to regional indigenous organizations. Goal 2 is to assist in creating mechanisms to ensure that ATMXing benefits equitably from mining activities being carried out on its traditional territory. Strategy 2.1 is to research and review publicly available benefit agreements and strategies for mineral exploration and mining projects from other First Nations to assist ATMXing create its own guidelines for these agreements. Activity here is to assist the ATMXing Anishinaabe negotiation team when required on developing a set of guidelines that can be used to enter into benefit agreements with industry partners and provide regular updates to the Director of Lands and Economic Development. Measurable outcome here is that the negotiation team have guidelines to follow when negotiating benefit agreements for resource development projects. Strategy 2.2, research information on mineral exploration and mining projects and provide technical support to the ATMXing Anishinaabe negotiation team. Activity is to analyze data and research information regarding mineral development activities in the ATMXing Anishinaabe traditional territory. Measurable outcome is that the negotiation team is aware of all the mineral and mining activities in the territory. Another activity is to provide project updates and technical support to the negotiation team regularly and provide technical, there's a repeat there. The outcome here is that the negotiation team and staff have guidelines to follow when negotiating benefit agreements for resource development projects. Goal 4 is assist in rationalizing ATMXing Anishinaabeg's codes and policies related to land use and environmental stewardship and create implementation processes and structures. Strategy 4 is compliance of mining activities, ensure ATMXing's protocols, policies are applied to the activities of the mining sector within the ATMXing traditional territory. Activity here is that the mining companies are made aware of Attica Mixing's policies and procedures such as consultation and accommodation protocol and mineral and aggregate resource development policy, and also that these policies and procedures are applied to mining activities within the traditional territory. Measurable outcome, mining companies are in receipt and understand these protocols and policies. Another action item here is to conduct site visits to mineral exploration and development project sites to ensure any impacts from mining related activities are being mitigated where possible. Outcome here is that Attica Mixing is actively monitoring mining activities taking place within the traditional territory. Goal 5, to assist in fully resourcing a lands and environmental stewardship department and program. Strategy 5 here is to identify relevant funding programs and apply for funding. The action step here is to assist the department in identifying relevant funding programs, prepare and submit funding applications. Measurable outcome, fully resourced lands and environmental stewardship department is established, and Attica Mixing and Nunavik is capable of developing and implementing its own codes in relation to lands and environmental stewardship to all its lands, including the traditional territory. Goal 6 is to create a communication strategy that ensures that community members have access to information related to policy, codes, procedures, and status of ongoing processes in regards to mineral development activities, Ontario Mining Act, and associated regulations. Strategy 6 is to create a regular feature in the community newsletter and flyer that highlight new developments related to these activities or the update to the Act and regulations. Activity here is to provide updates to the GIMA and Council, staff and community on mineral and mining activities and projects via reports, department updates and newsletter. Measurable outcome, GIMA and Council, staff and community members are aware of mineral development and mining activities in the territory. And another activity is to prepare outreach material to educate the community members and as well inform them about recent development in mineral development and mining sectors through information sessions. Measurable outcome is that the community members are knowledgeable on the technical aspects of the mineral exploration and development activities and are aware of such activities in the Attica Mixing traditional territory. And this is all for my work plan.
Miigwech, Runa, and miigwech to the other staff of Lands and Economic Development Department. I know it was a long process there putting these work plans together, and I wanted to commend the community for going through the CCP process there to identifying all of these goals and priorities for lands and economic development, and for us to develop these work plans based on your consultation. So this is our opportunity to present these work plans to you, the community, as well as get some of the feedback on the direction that we're going. So I'd like to take a few minutes there. It's 7:48 right now, and we are on a break time right now. So let's reconvene just after 8, take a few minutes, stretch, and we'll come back. And then people have questions, by all means, put them in the chat, or you can raise your hands and we'll address them. I also wanted to thank Gary Naponce too for his excellent work there, for briefing me and training me on the comprehensive community plan, as well as a lot of the traditional historical legacy projects here at Attica Mixing, so I can get up to speed on some of the history and some of the projects. So regrets, Gary. All right, let's take a break for a few minutes. Economic development work plans that were presented today. I'd like to again thank everybody for attending this evening. I know Going through this process there, as I indicated earlier, I was very impressed with the work that was being done. And thinking back to my own community, Christian Island there, we're going through a similar type process there back home there. And if we could somehow come up with a document that you guys have created, that'd be great there. So really must commend the community and the leadership for the work that's been done thus far, and to make it a living document. And that's through the consultation with the community here. And this gives you an opportunity to have your say on the work plans that the staff is going to be doing. So with that, let's reconvene. If anybody has any questions, if I can't answer them, no, Gary can. So I know Gary's here. So let's open up the floor.
I think they must have just been blown away by our work plans. We left them speechless.
Yeah, we're on the right path, I guess.
Or maybe they're still on break.
This is true.
I kept checking my audio thinking, okay, how come I can't hear nobody? What's going on?
I know that in the initial agenda, it said break went to 8:15. I know, because so we went a bit earlier than maybe what was originally planned, but yeah, it's possible that they're not back yet.
So John has a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, John. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So with the Economic Development Corporation, I'm wondering, I missed that portion of the presentation, unfortunately. I was in that different breakout room. So I was just wondering, when you were sharing that piece, was there a timeline that was shared with the development of that?
Yeah, so the Economic Development Corporation, the contract with the consultant ends on March 31st of this year. So March 31st, 2022. And then there's a 90 to 180 day implementation period that will be left once the consultant has finished their work. Does that kind of help answer your question? And John, or are you looking for a bit more information?
Yeah, no, that extra piece about the 90 days, that was helpful for me to hear for sure. I might have missed that in another sharing that you were a part of, Jeff, but yeah, no, that's helpful to know. And then I think I've just forgotten, like, what was there a name chosen for that portion yet, or are we still searching for?
So we've had some submissions from the community, but we haven't selected a name yet. And I'm sorry if you can hear the growling in the background. It's my dog. He's decided to play tug of war with me right now. But there have been some submissions, and they'll have to be presented to GIMA and council.
I'm sorry, I missed that question John had. What was the question, John?
So John was curious if the name for the Economic Development Corporation had been selected, as well as about the timeline for the Economic Development Corporation. Would you like the repeat of the answer as well, Kathleen?
No, I
Okay.
think I got part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I had a question is it question period now? I was in the other room when you started, so I wasn't sure where we're. Pardon?
We're doing question and answers.
Okay. I had a question in regards to, I think it was, there's so much stuff presented. I think within that business park, Tiana, I think, presented it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The question was, she made note of a lot of things that were going into that area, but yet there's no room there for that now with that OTK there, or whatever that group is, that oil company. She mentioned about a Foster store, something about, I thought she said something about an apartment and also stores going in there. So I just wanted some clarity on that. Without the presentation on hand, kind of hard to go back to it. But
Yeah, I'm going to share my work plan again.
Thank you.
So it was the Elders Lodge, Cultural Center, and foster care facility. I think I've also mentioned, it's just down here, possibly a new band office.
So my question is, how is this supposed to go in there when there's no room in that business park? Because
Gary, do you think you can answer that one?
Yes. Overall, the CPP is very large, and the tasks are basically a lot of wish list of certain future development. At this time, in regards to the business park, as you're aware, yes, we only had 3 lots. That was 13, 14, and 15 that are had signed a lease with the Business Park Corporation in relation to a fuel blending business activity. Right now, the campaign is with Capital, so we are in conjunction working with both departments as we're looking to expand the business park via the bypass road. That was approved with the Provincial Infrastructure Canada grant. We will not be able to complete the 18 lots. So at this time, the preliminary outlook from the Column Barrels report was to develop the 18 lots. Currently, we only did 3. The next phase would probably be 6 lots. I'm hoping that We might possibly be able to incur a couple of more, but that'll be pending funding. We are also working with government agency FedNor in response to putting in additional resources to bring in the infrastructure, water, sewer, electrification, gas, fiber to the existing lots. And at this time, the business park is working with other interested parties at this time. These parties are looking forward for the movement of the business park expansion. This will be coming into another phase, and hopefully to fill up the lots as soon as we complete construction. Just to give you more information is that we are just in preliminary design. I'm working with an engineering firm from Southern Ontario. We will be looking at hopefully by 66% design within the weeks to come, and preferably have a good layout within a year, and hoping to tender out by late summer. And that's how we will start the process of expanding. Costs are high in regards to this construction. So at this time, we are working within all professionals from project management services and also engineering services to make sure that we could achieve this task. Do you have any other questions, Kathleen?
Yeah, I do. Now, my understanding is that from the presentation that was given by Gima on the plan, that we were supposed to go to the community for approval on what was going into that park. Did this last one go to the community before they signed all the lease over?
That information was not relayed to the community in regards to signing that lease. The lease was bought out after the non-disclosure. There was a non-disclosure agreement when the company started negotiating for the lease. It was made up of senior management and also council representation. And they deliberated for a few months until they formalized the agreement. And once the agreement was signed, that's when they provide that information out to the community via the flyer.
So that
at this time right now, we are just finalizing off on the agreement and going over the EA on that matter.
And that lease with them is for how many years?
Offhand, I can't remember how many. It's 25 in regards to that agreement.
Right. I understood that those leases were only supposed to be 5 years, negotiated every 5 years.
Well, it depends on the investment of capital. Preliminary documentation, like from the KPMG report and also Colin Barrels, as you know, it's a legacy documentation we went through on this items. It's about the investment in capital. So if a company does come in and puts a large building up and invests millions of dollars into that, they are more soliciting into a 25-year lease or something greater, so they recoup their investment into that capital. So in relation to smaller agreements, for instance, if there was a move for the multi-use building, that's when we can entertain the smaller leases that would pertain to a 5-year or even, I don't want to go too far in depth too much because it's all about the process of how much the investment is and then the turnaround for profit on these buildings or structures or the investment in the capital.
Okay.
We have a couple of hands up as well, and I also had a question that was sent to me from one of the people who have their hands up. So I'll ask Rabina if she wants to speak first, and then we'll go to Nikki.
Thank you. My question on the chat was about communication of the business park, and communication overall. We don't see any in the newsletters whatsoever for the last little while or ever. But I was very interested in the business park presentation work plan done by Tiana. And Tiana, I don't know if that was your business park plan or if it was another individual's, but a lot of the things that are in that work plan, I guess like the previous Kathleen mentioned, there's a lot of wish lists on there, one being a mall, and then other businesses and the signing of leases. I guess lessons learned from the first lease signed where they utilized 3 beautiful lots that could have been occupied by other owners. Are we going to secure something or have a discussion about never signing a lease with non-disclosure clients coming to us, because it is very dangerous when we do that. And I'm assuming that we are learning from that as a lesson learned under this initiative, as well as using EAs for those kind of projects for environmental issues, because the EA that was done for all of the lots I don't believe covered whatever can happen sometimes when you look at issues that can potentially happen. Another one that I really caught my eye was benefit agreements. Benefit agreements actually went to 2 programs. So we need to know exactly where do those fit, because if there's overlap, and then the communication issue will happen again. And then 2 times, I think I noted on the presentation, key knowledge holders. Who are the key knowledge holders? And for myself, the land mapping process, it seems like we've been doing that for so many years. You think there would be something already set up in place, because we dished out a lot of money from a tick machine to do these land mapping processes already. So I think reviewing some of this would be good. And then the other one that really caught my eye, my hearing, is life path programs. And I guess that's a communication issue, because myself, I don't know what those are, but they were targeted at, assisting people in poverty. So I'm assuming it's economic development, but those kind of words really kind of didn't fit in this whole area for me. They kind of fitted in another area. I found that that's just me, but I don't know how everybody else thinks. But the corporation, when you had a mindset of corporation committee that deliberated, I guess the seriousness of us people not knowing what goes on. Because if we're going to develop 18 more lots and only looking at 6 for the next few, maybe 5 years, I'm hoping that those 5 lots will be individually given out to 5 different people, not amalgamated into 2 lots, like what we saw this past year. But overall, I'm very concerned with some of the business park work plan, because I myself don't know where some of those ideas and dreams come from. They sound very good, but it would be, I guess, collecting that idea from people would be very, very nice, because for myself, sitting back at the First Nation level, I didn't see that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
I can respond to those. I recorded 5 questions. I apologize if I missed any, Rubina. Plan for the business park. The last plan that was developed was the Colin Barrows report. Colin Barrows report identified a development plan for the business park. It did not really capture the policies and procedures and protocols. It identified the whole land base as a C1, which is light industrial. From there has not been a formalized business plan that provides us with the policies that are needed for this type of business park. For example, I'm just going to utilize commercial building regulations, lot servicing regulations, and other items as it relates to land use. So that is an item where since acting in this position, been working with another consultant firm to be looking at completing the plan itself. The first three, or the first two from KPMG and also Colin Barrows, only were in relation to the development, providing opportunity for growth in regards to other industries, for example, the fuel blending. The other comment in regards to the EA, in 2015, Chief of Council has passed the Sierra report developed from Lands. We deployed that in the summer in August, working with another engineering firm from Southern Ontario, First Nation Engineering Services Limited, in response to the full EA of this agreement that's in place for OTE. We used provincial regulations and also brought in other agencies from the province of Ontario in conjunction with the ministry and also the Ontario Technical Association. We went through a process in regards to certain documentation and flow, like certificate of possession for a mitigation measure for fuel. And also we're able to address many other concerns. Now, initially you are correct in regards to first initial EA. The EA that we're working from is from 2011, which was done by EXP here in Sudbury, Ontario, and produced a EA to encompass all of the lots out of that construction project, which I refer to as phase 1B. Now, we were able to resolve these matters in response to making sure that everything was complying, but the lack of communication in certain portions, which would be the land use of the business park, identifying the lots. Now I will jump to question number 3 is in land mapping. Currently, the data is not within the First Nations capacity at this time. The Esri license has lapsed. We had no resources in that department for a few years, hence the reason why we have to revitalize it. We have worked with Shared Value Solutions, Blue Matrix, and other agencies that have worked on land use mapping, traditional knowledge, the capital planning study, and we're formatting that data to come back to a tick machine. We will construct certain geodatabases for environmental, land use, asset management for transportation, water, wastewater, electrification, and then doing all the environmental buffer zones that Lands has already constructed, and then incorporating that into a new in a newer updated Esri platform. It'll still be in the ArcView format, so the past work of Todd Lewis and Taylor Commanda will not be lost. We're going to revitalize it and bring it back up to date. We are in conjunction with another agency to provide a systems operator for the Esri license, and we will be gaining capacity within our department. And you are right, Rabina, in regards to the past investment. There has been a lot of dollars that have been used with all these consultants, and we need to revitalize that. So that is one of the campaigns for the department, and that was presented tonight via Lori Richet's presentation. The other item, the Life Path programs. I would really like to commend Jeff's department and Economic Development and Lands in regards to this movement. The movement has captured right from providing assistance for business plan development, from employment, training in the mining sector, career fairs, and also working with membership. Now, the Life Path program is an introduction for individuals who are under or overemployed. Not really sure when they come out of high school or even college or university, if that's the field they went to. And then also working with members that have not completed their high school diploma and finding out what limitations are holding them back to get into a field they would enjoy. The first year was very successful. This year, we do have some social items. That's why Nigonan's involved in certain other social programs. As we work with our membership to bring them into a work environment so they could excel in. Currently, right now, we are working in conjunction within the administration and the Life Path program to provide work projects for the participants of this program for this fiscal, and that'll be running to 6 to 7 weeks. We are looking to monitor check-in, check-out times, provide work outside, and also we will be providing the wage subsidy for these individuals will be minimum wage, and it's more of an introduction getting back into the workforce. And yes, there is a lot where to go within the program, and we are evaluating our pros and cons. As it relates to the corporation activity right now has been started off and within October, well, September. December was a very, very productive month with Chief and Council. I believe Jeff did 4 3-hour sessions with Chief and Council and developing all the policies in relation to managing our a trust account built up of the IBAs, the corporation itself for the business park, our joint ventures, and then within a policy, those revenues will go into a new account that will be built in an administration. And for some of the participants tonight, you will, I'm going to use a term called the Ottawa Trust Account. This will be similar to that type of construction of where we'll be categorizing all the revenue coming in, and then also putting a very secure process that would put some limitations on council on how to access. So to be more stringent in regards to how to access those dollars. And then also putting down a format that provides some dollars to programs and services through administration. And also in addition, providing some dollars back to those joint ventures, the Business Park Corporation, for investment for the future growth of those businesses. These are all preliminary. And as Jeff mentioned, next week there will be a community session. There will be more information that'll be relayed out to the community in response to these development policies. And we look forward to your feedback at these sessions. So if you do have some time next week, that would be great to attend and provide some feedback just to make sure we complement everyone's questions or concerns they have. That session will be on February 15th at from 6 to 9. Thanks, Jeff. I threw that in the chat. I hope that I answered your questions, Rabina, and I apologize if I missed one.
Miigwech, Gary, very good. Now I have an understanding of some of the things that were talked about, but nevertheless, I picked up quite a bit of stuff on there. So thank you so much. Miigwech.
Miigwech.
Miigwech Rubina and Miigwech Gary for that great answer there. We have one more question in the chat from Nikki. So Nikki, if you wanted to bring your question and we'll try and answer it.
Okay, so I'm not sure if, I don't know who's going to answer this, but I want to know, I don't think I understood this correctly. Is the environmental assessment for the business park that's happening right now from 2011? Was there one done recently for this project? And what kind of money has the community put into this project? And now I also have another question about the corporation. So the corporation is actually just chief and council, not community involved?
Okay. Okay, thank you, Nikki. Hopefully, I'm trying to write down just to make sure I respond back to you accordingly to your questions. Okay, I'm going to start off with the first one, the EA. The current construction that punched the road through to the business park and developed lot 13, 14, and 15 was conducted at the time of 2011 EA from Exploration Services here in Sudbury, Ontario. They had various engineers and also ISC and the ministry were involved in this. It represented the ability for a tick machine to do the construction. Now, when OTE signed their lease agreement, they utilized some of that information from that EA. When the non-disclosure was released and I assisted the department as acting, we put in another Sierra, a simple environmental report application. This is from the 2015 motion from Chief and Council in regards to their environmental EA. This EA is the similar, a little bit more higher than the provincial guideline, as we discussed monitoring laws. The provincial regulation does not talk about that. That EA is the one that I currently am involved with. And in this circumstance, Robert Pejuan, myself, and our engineer, Jason Muskokum from First Nation Engineering Services Limited, and Tiana have went through all the reviews and worked with the first initial meeting with their engineering team, and were able to satisfy all the questions in response to the EA. Now, the EA is not a consult, like we provide that information to the membership that we have conducted it. But in response to the activity of the EA, we look at the stamps of those engineers and the engineers we paid for to stamp off on those, that they are correct. So we reduce certain liability in regards to make sure that the engineering and the construction are to code. Now, with the Ontario Technical Association, they were on site 3 times throughout the development, doing pressure tests and also doing the, how do you say that? The tanks itself, doing the inspections, taking down the stamps. And in addition, a tick machine did the exact same thing. We have our own records in relation to the same process and more or less a double coverage on that item. In relation to the corporation currently is just in regards to draft, hence the reason why we're going to the community. It is the wishes of councils to be arm's length away from council. The preliminary discussions at this time establish a board that represents within a CEO, hence the reason why we're doing all these policies, is that they're mandated on these policies to conduct their businesses in that manner. So the First Nation is aware that the revenues of all these businesses, joint ventures, IBAs, and business, the corporation and the business park, that these dollars flow accordingly in this way. And then also in future years for, I guess, any programs the administration moves forth with can access those dollars and provide members these programs to membership. So and again, I got to mention that this is all preliminary. This is not passed. This is not confirmed at this time. We are still working with the consultants. We're still doing our community sessions with council, with staff, with membership. And we're hoping to get all the feedback and address the concerns of all members in relation to the activity of a tick machine. So we are still proceeding. Jeff did mention the date that March 31st will be the end date with our consultants. Then we come into our 90-day action plan. So again, please come out to the other sessions and provide your concerns to our consultant and the team in relation to the Economic Development Corporation. I hope that answers your questions, Nikki. If
No, well, you still never answered one
Okay.
of about the cost that has the community been putting in a lot of money into it.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's a great question. This brings me back.
And
from-
also, I have one other question, Gary.
Yeah.
Has there been an emergency plan made for that, for the park, if anything does happen?
Yes, there is an emergency plan in response for fire suppression in the event of a catastrophe at this site. We also have an MTSA, a municipal type service agreement with Greater City of Sudbury for fire services. That information is moved to them too also.
Okay.
The background on expenditures for the business park, that will take me some time. Due to this activity started when I was 20 years old with Northland Engineering. I do believe passing of the land code also helped, was in that time frame. We spent money with KPMG on the first business plan. The Column Barrels report, that's also another expenditure. Yeah, the list is long, and I would need time to answer that question, Nikki. That would be a legacy movement for me.
Okay,
yeah.
I think people are concerned about the cost that it's costing the community now and prior to, I guess.
Yeah, because I remember even the first agreement was 50,000 with KPMG. This is in the day too. Northland
Yeah.
Engineering was the first engineering firm to do this. Secondary, now we had to hire exploration services to redo that.
Yeah.
Now again, I'm going through there with another engineering firm for the bypass road, which also brings in another EA.
Yeah. So what would we like, will you eventually, like, I know that in the audit, things get jumbled and lost in translation in there, it's easy to hide stuff, right? I was just wondering if you'll ever report on the actual cost of the park. I know it's a difficult question to.
Yeah, no, it's just that I'm aware of the expenditures. It's just that to give you the correct values, I can't, because again, I was not with the First Nation through all these years.
Yeah.
I was here just as a civil technician when this all started. And at that time, I was working with Gail Shamonquet, who was GIMA at that time.
Yeah.
And also Linda Patatius in relation to the conception of the Home Tired movement, which went to even investigations with surrendering the land at that time, which also cost dollars. And also a corporation that was built in that day that also represents $250,000.
Right.
So the expenditures just in that era alone would have been $1 million. And now where I'm going to now is, yes, there is historical investment here. But at this time, I cannot 100% answer your question tonight. because I don't know the financials.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I just thought I'd ask.
Oh, no, it's a good question. I'm just apologize that I didn't have the capacity to answer that right now, and I'm sorry.
Okay. Maybe I'll go to the session and ask those questions.
No, all good. Thank you, though. And
Yeah.
yeah, let me see what I can do here on that one.
Miigwech, Gary.
You're welcome.
I'll have a look as well too to see what historical information and costs I can find and try and roll it up. So appreciate the answer, Gary. I'm new here and you've been here a while, so I appreciate the being able to step in and answer some of these questions. We've got a little bit more time. I see another hand is up there, so if you wanted to ask another question, Rubina, by all means.
Yes, after listening to Nikki's question, it would be nice, Gary, is to put just a little scenario of a history of what transpired with the business park, specifically the consultants involved, the investment in our the first initial and with Northland, FedNor, and all of those businesses and companies that came with a big price package. Also, some of them brought money. So just a little history would be a timeline showing that of the names, because it's interesting when we're listening, all these things we did. And then, you know, even the one option where we almost had to consider surrendering the land. So that's where the land code came into play, you know, all those, the history of it. Yeah, that would be good for us for that meeting on February 15th. That would be nice if that could be just a little clip there, I guess, for our info if we attend.
In regards to that question on surrendering land and the land code, did we surrender that land?
Sorry, I'm talking, there's mute on. No, we never went to ask the community to surrender that land.
Okay, because I was going to say, I do not recall having to go to a vote for that.
At the time, chief and council of that day will never, as they mentioned, they will never surrender land.
No.
And so then that's when we start at that time looking at the land code.
I just want to jump in quickly here too, because I think I overheard something. I just want to be clear that the Economic Development Corporation that's in development is 100% separate from the business park and doesn't have involvement with it at the moment. So questions relating to the business park, the consultant working on that corporation that will be presenting on the 15th won't be able to provide answers and feedback on that, just so everyone's aware in case that's the information they might be looking for in the 15th.
So why would we have two corporations? Why can you not have the one incorporate the business park in the economic development one?
So at the moment, the Economic Development Corporation isn't operational. It's in the development phase. Once operational, I believe the plan is to move in that direction, but there is very limited information that the consultant currently has on the business park. Majority of their information has been surrounding setting up the policies for the corporation itself and starting recruitment, developing industries to attract and pieces like that for the Economic Development Corporation, and developing a plan for that implementation, but they aren't developed in the day-to-day operations of the business park and any of the lease agreements or anything like that at the moment. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Rubina again. So if that is the case, then I guess it's very important now that we have economic development do that then, because for a better understanding for ourselves and the people of Atikameksheng, we need to know that history. Because the business park is something that belongs to us. It's, you know, like if it's going to be operated under a corporation, we still need to have a handle on what's going on.
That's a good point, Rubina. I see.
Yep, it's Tiana. I can begin compiling that information. It's just gonna take time because this project has been in the works since I think the 80s when I was looking through some documents. So
Tiana, thank you for that. It's Rabina again. And then, you know, where you have the knowledge keepers, you have knowledge keepers that are working for the First Nation today still. Maybe they can assist with that history. It shouldn't be really that much to gather.
yes, yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Miigwech.
I see another hand there as well. I believe it's Vivian.
Yeah, and Tiana, if you could also take the agenda down so we can just have the talking heads and the video for people who are speaking. Thank you. Go ahead, Vivian.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just getting in on this this session, but I think Rubina makes a good point in terms of providing the background information on the development of the business park. And there certainly is a lot of information in terms of when it first began. But I think the history is important for a community to understand the milestones on how the business park was, what the vision was, and where we stand today. And definitely there is plenty of documentation in the office on the business park, and perhaps you know, there will be time to put that information together. But when Nikki's asking about the financial part of the development of the business park, and I think it's good to go back to the beginning, but also what the costs were for the development of the park, like the road and the infrastructure, and how the current management of the business park, how we're going to be moving forward with lease agreements and how that's tied into our land code, et cetera, because we have to keep that aligned with all the work that we're doing on our lands and having it designated for that purpose. I think that's important as well. When we use up land for different purposes, such as the business park, we did have a ceremony for use of land at the time. So I think when we look at use of land and when it's costing the First Nation monies, I think that's important as well. We know we accessed monies through FedNor, but when we access monies through the province or whoever, we also have to our equity. So our equity should be identified in that financial information. Then that would also give us a better picture of what the real cost is with our business park. And then we can see how that business park will benefit the community in the future. Miigwech.
Thank you, Vivian. Yeah, I'll be working with Tiana to try and pull that together for everybody. So at a future meeting, we will have that at to share. Okay, we've got a few more minutes. anybody has any more questions, we can certainly answer them. If not, we can jump back to the main room there. They're going to be having the draws there. So I'd like to thank everybody for their questions.
Curtis, I have a
for
question.
Okay, Kathleen, please proceed.
Again, this is for Lance, Lori, I guess. In relation to protecting our, I didn't see it clearly in the work plan, but in relation to protecting our trees from being all cut in our reservation, which is under a boundary claim right now, or under a land claim right now, how are we working towards protecting that within your work plan? Like working with the SFLs, because all those FSLs have are going into new licenses this year, and that's for 10 years. And if we've already agreed to that, that land can all be cut out before we get our land back.
Thanks, Kathleen. I know Thomas Sinaway, our natural resources coordinator right now, is working on obtaining all of that information. We did become aware of it, and as a part of his forest management plan, like I said, the way that he was going to be keeping it updated with new information because it was a working document. I know that he's currently involved in that. As far as the status of where we are with it, I haven't met with him to discuss it yet, but that is in our work plan.
I would put that as an urgent
as a priority
or priority.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be signing all those agreements.
I did see some correspondence come in that was addressed to him, and I was CC'd on it. So we did set a date to meet next week to discuss it. So yeah, we are aware.
If you get a letter out to them that you don't want them to sign any of those leases out until you have had a chance to assess the whole situation.
To review it and go over the information. Yep, Thomas is working on that.
And that's Thomas who?
Thomas Sinaway. He's our natural resources coordinator.
Okay.
So he works with forestry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
You did a good presentation too, by the way, Laurie.
Oh, thank you very much.
I did have a question that was sent to me from a participant on the treaty lands and whether or not that's under the governance of council and communications, the difference with the economic development and business park corporation needed. So these are some of the things that we will look into and get back to you on perhaps on Thursday night at the open mic forum there. Are there any more questions? All right, I would like to thank everybody for their time and their questions, and for some of the questions that we weren't able to answer, we'll definitely follow up on in the next coming weeks or next little while there for compiling the history and then some of the costs, or for some of the questions related to XDF Corporation, or for the last one for the forestry management plan. So miigwech, and I'd like to thank everybody, and you can return back to the main room, and I believe they're having draws shortly, if I'm not mistaken, Sean?
Because that's going to help us in our legal claims. So wanted to say miigwech for that too. All right, so we do have some questions here. Are non-registered band members and residents in Atikameksheng recognized and accepted to attend these meetings? Question, who is verifying the attendees? So this is for band members. So Sean would be requesting their names, their full names. And you know, I'll be honest, we haven't said only band members, but that would be the status quo, I think. But that is a good question. I just want to throw the question back out to you then. So for those band members then that have spouses or relatives who live here, do you feel then that they can participate or at least provide feedback and input? I'll just throw it out there right now. Would anybody care to comment? So we have a yes. Another yes, yeah. So yeah, so why don't we, what I'll do, Whitney, if you can make a note there, let's bring this to council and let's just, you know, let's formalize it and say, you know, we'll open these sessions, you know, we'll have a discussion, obviously, but we'll bring this forward to council and say, should we allow non-band members who live within to participate? Yes, Liz.
It's actually in the CPP. You've used the word in Devon Dagzig, and that means all who belong when you define citizens. So it is in your CPP, so they should be included.
And I think we should get some feedback there too from the committee that's developing the membership code to see what they would recommend to. So Carmen?
Yes, so under health, we do provide services to members in the community who are not band members, because we do want to ensure that we provide them with adequate health services and programs. I've always felt that, you know, any member living in the community, either regardless if they're a status member or not, should be treated as a community member just as anybody else would be.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
I have a question, Craig.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, will the other departments have their work plans on the members portal or the Atikameksheng website? Because we never got a chance to see the other presentations.
Yes, Barry, all of the work plans we are going to put on the members portal along with the actual sessions too. So I know I was already probably 20 minutes into my presentation before the recording started, but hopefully the other rooms didn't do the same. But we're going to post all of that onto the website, and again, we still have another week, so if we can get these drafts to online right away, you can still provide comment. And like I said, we're not going to approve them until March 5th or 6th. So there is some time for you to review. Okay.
Miigwech.
I have a question, Gima.
Yeah.
In relation to these work plans. Some of them seem to be very, very large, like almost setting yourself up to fail if they're a one-year work plan. And some of them appeared to be work plans that maybe they inherited from another worker, maybe for the previous year. So I was just wondering if they're going to look at that and maybe look at what really can they accomplish within 1 year and make that priority based on the priorities that you've already identified. You know, whether it's medium, high, or low priority, what can you accomplish? Not to say that you forget about all those other things, but I don't think you can accomplish everything that you've got in that work plan.
Miigwech, Kathleen, and Carla basically said the same thing. And so it's part of the process to outline in our work plan all of the priorities that were labeled as high. And so as we go through the first quarter, for instance, April, May, and June, and we come back to the community, you're probably going to see a lot of 0%, right? In terms of the status, how much work is completed. And I think from there, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, you know what, council, we're recommending we push these to the next year and we focus on what we can start. But the idea is to lay all of the priority items on the table and say, okay, realistically, what can we do? And where are things, what are some of the things that we need to push back? Because the other thing too is sometimes the funding opportunities come up that they may be for items that are not even in the work plans. So we may have to do adjustments there. But you're right. Like I was just saying, for mine alone, I'll need 3,000 hours in the year to complete them. I'm not going to get all that done, but the idea is to at least track them, and if we need to push them to a later time frame, then that's what we'll do. So, but now we've basically highlighted all of those items, and we're starting a baseline here, and then if we need to move them, then we'll move them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions or comments, suggestions? We're right at 9:01, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. Okay, so I understand there's some draws. Carmen? I'll hand it over to you.
I know we didn't. I'll let Sean do it because I'm not too sure how he's gonna go.
No, I'm gonna let Montana do it because she has the Wheel of Fortune.
My name isn't in there.
We need to add a name, apparently.
I think this was for the health group, eh?
This would be health and lands and economic development.
Okay.
So this means that we have two $25 gift cards to New Sudbury Shopping Center, as well as two PC President's Choice $100 gift cards. So good luck to everybody, and thank you for attending. Please tell everybody that you know that might be interested in checking this out. We still have 2 nights of wonderful presentations and then a final draw at the end of the week for everyone who has participated in each one of these events. A chance to win a 50-inch HD TV and an Xbox Series X.
I feel like there's
Take it
some
away.
names missing.
Well, there was 2 previous draws as well in the other rooms, John.
Oh, okay.
All right, are we ready? Big money, big money. Ta-da. Oh.
Congratulations to our first
Congratulations,
winner.
Sophia. You are the winner of the $25 to New Sudbury Center. Thanks for telling us that your name wasn't on there. It pays off.
All right, let's do one more. Ta-da.
Rubina.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Rubina. You won a $25 gift card for the New Sudbury Shopping Center. We'll set these up for pickup over at the band office for everybody. Oh, Montana, we still have the 2 PCs as well.
Oh, okay.
Keep the wheel going.
Let's keep going. All right.
Yep, put it up on the screen.
Oh,
So
It's okay. Even Vanna White has her bad days. Montana, you're doing great.
I was all excited watching the wheel go.
Yeah, I could tell it was spinning, but
So we do have Angela as the winner.
Angela,
congratulations.
congratulations.
All right, one more.
We need theme music next time. There we go. Kashina doing great.
Yeah, just raking it in.
Right on. All right, miigwech, everyone.
Perfect.
Okay. So thanks again, everyone. And just a reminder, we have 2 more sessions. And if you can make it, that's great. There'll be draws each night, and then there will be a grand prize draw on the final night as well. All right. Okay, everyone. Have a great night. Thanks for coming out. Miigwech. Valmapi.
Pamapi.
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 Pama.
Pamapi.
Pamapi.